Hello, my name is Marley, and we managed 1 year on BookTube, somehow. And we are going to celebrate that by reading for 24 hours, because how do you celebrate a year on BookTube if not by reading? I've done one reading challenge before on this channel, and it kind of went wrong because my audio footage just wasn't recorded. So let's hope this time goes better. I was originally planning on doing an all-nighter this night to actually do like 24 hours of reading, but my insomnia decided that I should instead only sleep like 2 hours last night. So I might have to like take a nap in between or do actually go to sleep. But we do that spontaneously, depending on how tired I get. I know it's fine, I also do have an energy drink here though, so you know. Anyway, we are starting out of the garden. We are not going to stay here for the 24 hours. But now it's 47. 12:74. That's not our 60-minute clock, whatever. 12:47. I am going to put a timer though on 24 hours. So the only other thing I have to tell you before I do that is what I'm reading. I'm going to start with The Crimson Petal and the White by Michelle Faber. I started this in London, but I only got, how far am I? 80 pages? Pretty much exactly 80 pages in. And it's got over 800. But I decided I want to finish this first before I start a new book. We are following, according to the blurb, a prostitute named Sugar. However, so far we've also followed 2 other people during Victorian London, so 1870s I think is the time frame. And we're starting out really at the lowest of the low, essentially. Prostitutes and people who couldn't work, some factory some factory workers, my god. And then we've also met one dude who's about to become rich, and obviously the protagonist Sugar, who is the prostitute that we're following around. It's not like anything has happened so far, we've just been introduced to characters, but I have been enjoying that quite a lot because of the writing style. It's a little crass, I think is the word. We're going to continue with this until I'm done, probably, unless I stop enjoying it, in which case we are going to change it. But I don't know to do which book. Okay, can you see it like that? Yes. Now. So 24 hours on the clock, go, and it's going. Yeah. We are 2 hours in, and I can finally tell you more about the book. I'm on page 142, which means that I'm going at about 2 minutes per page. And it means that I will take about, how long is it? 830, so we have 700 more pages to go. 14 hours? That's quite long. Yeah. Don't worry about that. I do realize that I messed up the math quite a lot a little later. I used to be very good at math, not sure what happened here. So most of my time will probably be spent reading this. But I can finally tell you more about the plot, if I can somehow summarize it, because I'm horrible at summarizing what's happening in books. Winter 1874. And we have met Sugar, who is a very unusual prostitute for the time. She's well read. She is not the beauty standard of the time. She's described as being very thin, as having protruding collarbones, small-chested, so not the standard of the time for a woman, or especially a prostitute. And she's also extremely smart and, as I said, well read, but also good at talking to people, if that makes sense. She knows what someone wants, and she is willing to give it to them if they give her money, obviously. And she's also known for being a prostitute that doesn't say no to any service. So she will talk to you for hours, but she will also do sexual services that other prostitutes refuse to do. And then we have a man, because obviously we have a man, William, what's his name, Rackham? I think Rackham. His father owns the Rackham Perfumery and expects from his son to inherit it one day, and therefore to look through the papers, to acquaint himself with the workings of the business. Rackham himself is not the biggest fan of that. He is bored by that. He likes to think back to the days when he used to study, when he was a bachelor. He does have a wife, he is married, but the wife is very sickly and constantly in bed. And because of his refusal to spend more time with the family business, his father has started to cut his allowances. So they have had to let a servant go. They still have they have at least 4 servants as far as I've counted. Or maybe it's 2 servants and 2 people who are just there. I'm not entirely sure of the workings of that household. It's kind of confusing. But they still have some. But he can't afford his own chauffeur anymore. He can't. He has less servants than he used to have, and he's not used to that. And then this William decides that he wants to, find a prostitute to do a certain act with that not every prostitute is willing to do. So in the end, he finds Sugar. And he is immediately infatuated with her because they talk before they even go to the brothel. Then they meet in a pub and they talk about literature on a level that he's not used to with women. And he's infatuated with her. They go to the brothel. He falls asleep there immediately and then is embarrassed because he soils himself. And she cleans him, she performs the act, and he falls in love. He is immediately obsessed with her. She, on the other hand, as we then figure out, is not. He's just another man for her that, she gets money from for performing acts. William then decides that he has to have Sugar for his own, so no one else should have her, which obviously, considering she's a prostitute, kinda difficult. So he's thinking, if he takes over the perfumery, the family business, and then becomes rich because of that, because the perfumery is or has made his father rich, and the only reason he is struggling is because he has less money than he grew up with because his father has cut his allowances short. But if he gets back all of that money, if he maybe even grows the business and becomes more wealthy, then maybe he can. I think he's planning on essentially buying Sugar off. He hasn't really explicitly stated what his plan is, except for that he wants to have a lot of money to have Sugar for his own. Which obviously he also still is married, and the wife did just have breakfast with him for the first time in a while, though it did kind of go wrong because then she fell down. So I don't think it's going to be as easy as he imagines. But that's basically where I'm at. And that so far is the plot. I find it very interesting because the writing style essentially talks to you. It begins in second person, as in I will tell you a story. And most of the time when it talks about other people, it will go into third person. So it will talk about William and about Sugar. But then sometimes it will go back to addressing you personally, as in you haven't met this person yet, or as you can imagine. And I do enjoy that. It pulls you in very deeply when the book talks directly to you, in my opinion. I know that a lot of people don't like that, but I love it when books do talk to you directly. Maybe it's also because I don't see it very often, and it's like something new and exciting. But yeah, as I said, I do really enjoy the writing style. Obviously, there are a lot of references about sex and prostitution, so keep that in mind if you're thinking you might like this as well. But yes, very happy so far with this. Anyway, it is time for food break. And I'm not sure what I want to eat, because the thing is, we are having renovations downstairs in the kitchen and the living spaces at the moment. So I'm not really able to cook anything. I know that my mother's partner is planning on cooking this evening though, so I might just get a little yogurt or something. I'm kinda hungry, but I don't know what to eat. I also don't know. I'm probably just gonna eat upstairs because there's no space downstairs at the moment. Either way, I'm gonna have a food break now. Maybe I'm gonna make myself some tea. There is still a little left in here, but I think maybe don't drink sugary drinks all day and drink some tea instead. So we are 4.5 hours in, and I'm on page 194. I did lose some time because I ate, but I also am definitely getting tired because of the lack of sleep of last night. So I think I might go to bed for a quick nap before dinner and then hopefully be able to read through the night. Not sure if I'm gonna do half an hour or an hour nap. I think we're gonna start with half an hour, and if that's not enough, we're gonna do an hour. But let's start with half an hour. It also shouldn't be too long until dinner now. Yeah. So we're not going to go entirely sleepless because I'm not gonna subtract the half hour off of the time, because like I do need to sleep at some point in my life, and that's now. So I tried sleeping for like an hour, did not work. The only thing that changed is that I got more red dots in my face. My hormones are all over the place again this month. Anyway, enough of my weird hormones. There's still a little more than 18 hours and 20 minutes left. There will be food in half an hour. That will probably take about 45 to an hour in total to eat, because it's family dinner, so it takes a little longer. Still don't know if I'm going to go to sleep this evening or not. Gonna decide that spontaneously. I need a tea, and I've also come to realize, apart from the page count, I have not given you an update. So that's what we're going to do now. In case it sounds weird, there will be an echo, assumably down here, because as I said, we are renovating and all of the furniture has been pushed aside because tomorrow someone is coming to, I don't know, we have like wooden floor. I think they're polishing it. I try to keep out of that because I don't know anything about it. That's also why my original plan of going downstairs at some point and a little change of scenery is not going to work out, because there's no real place. Actually, there could be a place that maybe I will come downstairs at some point, but not right now. Right now, tea time. A little update on the book while the tea is... What's it called? Stewing? No. Stewing is definitely not the word. While the tea is preparing itself. We are still mostly following Sugar and William. William has, in fact... I'm trying to keep this as spoiler-free as possible, by the way. But I don't think that this is much of a plot spoiler. There isn't really much of a plot to speak of, to be fair. We're mostly just following characters during their life in Victorian era London, and the thoughts and their interactions, their relationships with each other. They are from very different classes, obviously. So Sugar is a prostitute. We learn more about her family during the course of the book. We learn more about her upbringing. And then there's William, who does, in fact, strike a deal with the madam of the brothel that Sugar works in. So now Sugar does in fact only serve William, which gives her a lot more freedom to follow her own hobbies. And then we have also started following around Henry, who is William's brother. Older brother was originally supposed to inherit the company. However, he has decided to instead follow a life of God. And we see his life. He's not in a monastery or anything. He lives a very almost irritating poor life. We haven't seen the two of them talk about those things yet, but we see these differences between the brothers and see where tensions might arise. And then obviously Henry has also decided against inheriting the company from his father, and so that relationship is also strained. And then there's Mrs. Fox, who is a widow, and Henry and she have, at the moment it's a platonic relationship going, but he is definitely in love with her. She, when we follow her around, doesn't really talk too much about him, interestingly enough. She is member of the, I think it's Rescue Society, so they want to help prostitutes get off the street and to save their souls for God or for, Christian life, so they still get a chance at leading, what is it called? I guess a holy life, to get into heaven, to not have to face the consequences of their mortal actions, things like those. And so these two are also extremely interesting, in my opinion, because they do talk a lot about their opinions of the changing world in Victorian times, with the emergence of technologies, with the industrialization that's going on, with new kinds of poverty, especially in London. And I think that that's a very interesting path to take, because Henry does not see how prostitutes can be saved, as opposed to Mrs. Fox, who gives her best to do so, and who says that there's no way to evade the new developments that they're seeing in their world. While Henry is more of a, I wouldn't say he wants everything to stay the way it is. I think he knows that that can't happen, but he is more skeptical in how far the world will be changed by these technologies. For example, they are talking about the railway at one point, and Mrs. Fox says that she herself has had the experience of going into the railway and essentially letting go of the control of where she's taken, and that she just sat there and felt like part of God's creation has gone lost because of that, because she doesn't choose on her own anymore. And Henry didn't really get that. I find them a very interesting pairing, very peculiar, because Mrs. Fox obviously has a lot of deep thoughts about the modern world and Henry does not. So we have been following those two as well. And then there's still Agnes, I think is her name, William's wife. The William who is infatuated with Sugar also has a wife. There's also more to the family, but I won't talk about that because it did surprise me a lot, and I think it was obviously meant as a surprise, so I'm not gonna spoil that. But Agnes is very sickly. She is kind of getting better. She is, in her demeanor, she's supposed to be, I think, 22, 23 years old. She's not that old yet. She's very childlike. She doesn't know a lot about the world. She doesn't even know a lot about her own body and her own needs. And it's very obvious that she has been raised among men who did not see a reason for explaining things to her, as opposed to Sugar, who we see as a direct opposite to this, who obviously knows more about her surroundings and herself than many other people do, and who is very well versed in literature, but also now has started helping William with certain aspects of his business, which Agnes could never do, one, because she's sick, but also because she obviously just doesn't have the mind for that. She grew up in a household where her father died early and then his stepfather took over, and that seems to not have been the best relationship. So we see her thoughts as well. I don't like her POV too much, I think mostly because it is so childlike, which makes me as a woman who is supposedly the same age as her kind of squeamish. I understand that I didn't know a lot about medicine and especially female bodies back then, but even for that time I think she just is very non-informed about the going-ons of inside her own body. They at some point she talks about how she always gets sickly when she bleeds, and that bleeding has to mean that she's sick. And obviously no one ever explained to her what a period is, and that it is interesting to see. It's also very interesting to see her conversations with the doctor. It's very obvious that she has been traumatized by the way that they used to treat illnesses, especially in women back then. So the doctor tries to heal her womb essentially and thinks that it's from that we learn that it's actually something else, which I also won't spoil here because I'm not sure if there's gonna be more to that yet. But we do learn why she's sick. It's just that the narrator tells us, but she doesn't know, and no one else does. And the doctor is using ways to help her that nowadays seem extremely stupid, to be honest. But back then, from what I know of Victorian times, which to be honest is not that much, but from what I do know, it does seem like there might have been a realistic approach to female sicknesses or female illnesses. So yeah, that is the update on the book. As I said, there isn't really much plot in and of itself. And we are at like 240 pages, I think, of like 830. So I'm guessing that it's very character driven in its entirety. Though I'm also feeling like there is some plot picking up now with Sugar and William being closely connected now, and her inserting herself into his life as well, which in the beginning she didn't do. So there might still be more to the plot than I know for sure, but so far it's extremely character driven. I have just discovered I can't do math anymore, apparently. Because at a rate of 2 minutes a page and 550 pages left, I still need around 18 hours and not the 12 that I calculated previously. I think I might have just been stupid and instead of thinking of a 60-minute clock, like done the metric system, which obviously does not work with time. Not sure how that happens. Usually I'm good with calculating time, but apparently not today. Maybe reading challenges are just a curse for me. Anyway, I would like to have something to show for, like, if you read 24 hours. I know you can just read like one book and not even finish it, but I want to finish a book today. I guess not, because it's already like 10:30. But I wanted to finish something doing this challenge, so we are going to look for a book that I can read in the span of, what time is it? A little above 14 hours that I have left. Now the thing is, wait, I can turn you around. The thing is, I don't have a lot of thin non-fictions. Most of my books are quite big. Usually, like, for example, when we have a romance book, I will read a page a minute. So that should make it a lot easier. But still, there isn't really a lot to choose from that I could read in 14 hours. That is fiction. And I would like to read fiction because I'm not really in the mood for non-fiction at the moment. And also reading non-fiction in 14 hours is quite the challenge. I mean, I'm still reading, technically, Love Triangle And I could read that in that time, but I think I would like to read some fiction. So what we have that is thinner, I've been thinking of finally reading 10 Things That Never Happened. Mostly because I do want to be able to give it to my sister in case that I don't like it, and I am moving next month, so that would make a lot of sense. I think this one might be, I don't think I can do that in 14 hours. Also, just to be clear, I will continue this after the challenge. It's still amazingly good, but I won't be able to read it in the next 14 hours. So we're going to put that aside. I think I read about 200 pages of that. I really don't have a lot of non-fiction that is not like... a lot of fiction that is not like... huge. I guess I could read some fairy tales. We can pull this out as well. Honestly, I don't think I will be reading either of the German ones for now. So we have a choice between two books, which is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald and 10 Things That Never Happened by Alexis Hall. And I think, how many pages is this? This is around 400 pages, but it's like a bigger print. I'm going to take The Great Gatsby with me anyway, just in case I don't like 10 Things That Never Happened, because I am kind of scared of reading this, because it's supposedly like one of them is the boss of the other, and that's a power dynamic that I usually don't enjoy. But we are going to try it, even just because I want to be able to give it to my sister if I don't like it. To be quiet because my mother is sleeping downstairs, but I am about halfway through with this. There are a little less than 10 hours left, if it does focus on it. Okay, now this book is quite a change from the other one. I do like it, but I'm not sure yet if I like it to the end, if that makes sense. Essentially, what is happening is that Sam is the manager of one of the branches of, some shop that sells showers and toilets and also beds. Something the name of the shop isn't on Bed and Bath retailer is what it says on the back. Well, he's the manager of a branch of a bath and bed retailer, and he's called in by his boss, so the company owner, to London because his branch is not doing very well. Essentially, they're not hitting the targets, and his team is a team of misfits. Well, misfits is maybe not the right term in this case, but a team of people that he cares a lot about, but who are not necessarily the type of team that his boss would want. So we have one guy who just messes up everything. We have a teenage girl who's trying to pay for her classes. We have someone who's caring for their grandmother, and so he can't stomach the thought of firing them, but his boss wants him to. And if he doesn't, he's going to get fired himself, and then after that, they also, or at least 2 or 3 of them are going to be fired as well. And he doesn't want to lose his own job. He also doesn't want his team to lose their job. So when what is that? There's some animal. Oh, it's just okay. It's nothing bad. So when the opportunity arises, he fakes amnesia, and then his boss essentially, his boss was just about to fire him, and then his boss takes him in when he's faking amnesia because the boss is kind of involved in the accident. that caused the supposed amnesia. I hope I'm saying that word correctly. I have only ever read it, I think. I've never heard it spoken. But so his boss takes him in until his amnesia is gone. I have to say, I don't think that's very realistic. I don't know how it would work in Great Britain, but I'm pretty sure in Germany they would find your next to kin and not just let you leave with some random guy who is supposedly your boss when you can't remember anything. Maybe I'm just too optimistic there, but I think usually, apparently Sam in the book does not have any parents anymore, but they don't even try to contact anyone, so I would assume that that's not very likely in real life. I hope they don't just send you home with some guy who says he's your boss, because that sounds not the best way to go about it. I love how it says on here, I love this book, and it's like for another book by the same author. It's not even about this book. So Sam goes home with his boss, Jonathan Forrest. And Jonathan Forrest apparently is a millionaire, which is interesting if you... I guess it makes sense to a certain extent, but also I don't know if you are automatically a millionaire if you have a chain of retailers that has like 2 or 3 shops. I'm not sure how that would work, but you know. And it's around Christmas time, and Jonathan Forrest is not a Christmassy person, but Sam kind of makes him, well, do the family party essentially and stuff like that. I do like that the whole romance thing is not too heavy. Something did just happen, which is why I decided to take a break now to update you. That goes more in the direction of romance, or it's definitely like there's the point where we can say, okay, now it's going in the relationship field. But before that, mostly it was just assumed by the family of Jonathan that they're a couple, and they have been very adamant, however you say that word, that they are not a couple. So now something has happened that might change that. I do like that it took like half the book to get there. For one, I do like I'm not one for instant love, but also there's still the issue of one guy being the boss and the other guy supposedly having amnesia, and it's very messy in my opinion. Like the whole relationship is going to be a mess. And I don't like that too much in my books. I don't need it to be extremely happy, but it should at least not be... I don't like power imbalances, essentially. At least they are very aware, or Jonathan Forrest is very aware that there is a power imbalance going on and that he is the boss and that it's inappropriate. But also, I'm not sure how that's going to be resolved, because I'm assuming there's gonna be like a happy ending, but I'm not sure if I would call it a happy ending when there's a power imbalance in the relationship. So yeah, I'm not sure if I want to say I'm excited to see how it turns out. I'm interested to see how the author wants to resolve that issue, because I think it's a pretty heavy issue to begin with. Also, the writing style, it's way less descriptive than the book that I read before, which is probably why it stands out so much to me, because it's honestly, I think it's mostly your typical romance book writing style. The only thing, like something that is bothering me about it, is I think the author's trying to do some dialect, because Sam is supposed to be from the north, and this is all written in first point of view by Sam, essentially, or from Sam's point of view, at first person, and so sometimes she will throw in the dialect. I'm not from Great Britain, I'm still German. I have no clue what it's supposed to sound like, but it reads very weirdly at times. Like she will write yeast like Y-E-Z, and I think it's supposed to be you, but I'm still not quite sure. I think it's just you, but she throws it in sometimes and sometimes she doesn't. Now I'm just confused. And also she ends sentences with like, as in, I don't know, I can't find an example now, but she just ends the thought processes of Sam with like, and that sounds very weird to me. I wouldn't say that sounds very weird to me, like, I would say that sounds very weird to me, like, because, and then the sentence goes on. It can't, like, for me it can't just stop after like, and I'm pretty sure it's just a dialect thing, and as I said, I'm not British or any, like, English is not my mother tongue, but I don't know, I can't really deal with that too much. Yeah, so that's my thought so far. It is quite funny. I am enjoying the sweeter bits a lot with the family of Jonathan Forrest, who Jonathan Forrest is a character that's very, in rom-coms when there's this guy who's extremely focused on his business, or maybe even a woman who's extremely focused on her business or on her job. That's essentially Jonathan Forrest. He's so focused on his business that he wants to work on Christmas Eve and on Christmas and every day of the year. But his family is the exact opposite of him in most parts. They are very outgoing, while Jonathan seems to be more turned inwards and not shy, but more. He doesn't seem to be someone who likes socializing too much, honestly. And then his family is like so open to Sam, and so they're like 5 or 6 people, I think, that we've met from his family who are trying to get Jonathan to throw this Christmas party for the family, and trying to have as much fun as possible. And they just hold in a 20-feet Christmas tree and had to cut it in 3. Gotta be honest, I have no clue how much 20 feet is. We learned conversion in school, but I forgot how much 1 feet is in meters, and I definitely don't know what 20 feet is in meters. It seemed to be quite high. Anyway, so they are very different from Jonathan. That's, again, probably not very likely, because then they are all very similar to each other except for Jonathan. But I like them. They're funny. They make me laugh. There are some nice moments between Jonathan and Sam as well, when you forget that there is that Jonathan is technically the boss of Sam. As long as you forget that, it's kind of sweet. Also, Sam is supposed to now organize the Christmas party for the company, which they haven't shown too much of that, to be fair. There isn't too much of that yet in there. Honestly, I'm just waiting for it to come down to the point where Jonathan realizes that Sam doesn't actually have amnesia, and then, I don't know, something like that is probably gonna happen, I'm assuming. This is not a spoiler, this is just what I'm thinking. I'm thinking there's gonna be a point where Jonathan realizes Sam does not have amnesia, Sam is sent back home and fired, and then either Sam takes a chance and goes back to London and makes Jonathan talk to him, or maybe the family makes them talk to each other. Could also be a thing. There's also a housekeeper that might play a role. I don't think she will, but she might. But yeah, so my assumption is that Jonathan will figure out that Sam has amnesia, and then that will be the ending conflict that has to be resolved. That's my guess. It's almost 8 o'clock, and I have finished 10 Things That Never Happened by Alexis Hall. She did wrap up the power dynamic and amnesia issue as good as you could, I think. I don't think there would have been any other possible outcome that would have been healthier, I guess. Especially with the power dynamic. The amnesia, I feel like could have been done differently. I don't think it was talked about enough how messed up that part actually is. But she did wrap it up, so props to her for that, because honestly, I don't know, man. The writing style kinda annoyed me. It's... I don't want to say colloquial, mostly because I'm still not quite sure if I pronounced that correctly, but it's very everyday language, and I mean, that's fine, but mixed with the weird dialect thing, it just annoyed me a little bit. I came from this one where the language is a lot more descriptive and a lot more, I don't know, picturesque maybe, even though it's not like rosy pictures, but more like dark pictures, but it just had a different vibe. While this is very on the nose, this is very on the nose in its writing style, and it was not bad, but it didn't really give me much to work with. So I think I'm gonna give it 3 stars, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep it or if I'm just gonna gift it to my sister or give it away to someone else. But yeah, it was fun. Honestly, kind of felt like a long travel books. Like usually I read these kind of books when I'm on a long train ride. But yeah, nothing special, I think. We also have about a little less than 5 hours left. Thing is, as you might have been able to hear, the workers who are working on the floor are here, so downstairs is not an option anymore. But I am thinking of, definitely getting dressed and then going to the closest shop to get an energy drink, because the thing is, I mean, apart from my not nap yesterday evening, I haven't slept yet, but it's also only 5 more hours. And I could just, do the full 24 hours at this point. Because I'm not actually that tired, I'm just tired enough that I'm not sure if I can concentrate too much on reading anymore. But the thing is also, what am I going to read now? Because 5 hours isn't a lot to work with, especially since I have to get dressed and go to the shop first. I mean, I still have The Great Gatsby, which has about 150 pages with like the annotations and the introduction, which I usually do like to read. But also the pages will take me more than 1 minute per page. What is going on? Ignore my skin. I really don't know what's going on with my skin at the moment. We are hoping it's stress. We're hoping it's just stress, or not actual acne, because I've never had acne in my life, and for 2 months now it seems like I do. Anyway, not the point of the video. 150 pages is usually not that much, but in this font, it might just be. Still, I think that's the option I'm going with next. I think I will just start this and see how far I get. I mean, I still have the Crimson Petal and the White. I also still technically have the Count of Monte Cristo, but it's in French. That's too hard for a 24-hour read of them, which is why I decided not to continue with that today. But I still have the Crimson Petal and the White. But I do think that I want to try to finish another book, so I would rather go with The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. We can try that. I have about an hour left, which does not give me hope that I will finish it in that hour. I'm also not sure if I'm liking it. It's just, it feels like a big load of nothingness, essentially. The narrator is a man called Nick, and he essentially tells the story of Gatsby and Daisy, who met 5 years earlier during the First World War. But then Gatsby had to go away. And, I mean, they fell in love 5 years earlier, and then Gatsby had to go away. And then they re-meet after 5 years because, I mean, Gatsby kind of on purpose moved close to them and moved close to Nick because he knew that Nick knew Daisy. But Daisy, in the meantime, has already married Tom, and they have a 3-year-old daughter. And I mean, there's still 60 pages left, but there isn't really anything happening, but at the same time it's also not very character driven. There are mostly a talk about parties which took place in the 1920s, because the book is set in the 1920s. And it's just, I don't know, it's not giving me a lot, honestly. There's no plot, the characters are honestly not that well developed. We did have the green light, which is so famous in this book. But apart from that, there isn't, I don't know, it doesn't feel like there's anything in here. Anyway, I only have 60 minutes to go anyway, so I can try to finish it. At least. Yeah, I think I'll do that. I try to finish it, see where it leads me. Maybe the ending will maybe the ending will change things, who knows. But so far I'm not, it's not that I'm not enjoying it, it's just that it's doing nothing. So the 24 hours are over. I took like 2 more minutes to finish up The Great Gatsby. If there's noise in the background, I'm sorry, the workers are still working, obviously. I think I left you off pretty much 1 page before things finally happened. It did not really amaze me, to be honest. I found the plot twist very predictable. I kind of don't want to say what, like, even the premise is after what I told you, because maybe someone doesn't know and wants to read the book, but I didn't find it surprising. I also didn't have any emotional connection to any of the characters, so I honestly kind of didn't care. And I don't think it's because I'm sleep deprived, because I'm sleep deprived most of the time. It's not the first time in my life I've gone 24 hours without sleeping, and usually it's not a problem for me to still build a connection to characters in a book. So I don't think it's that. I think it's just actually that because it's so short and there isn't really much that we see of the characters, I just didn't build enough of a connection to really care about their weird relationships and about their issues with each other and about the ending. Yeah, so I don't even know what the rating is going to be yet. I'm gonna let it sit for a while, but it's not gonna be very high. Then in the span of 24 hours, I didn't read as much as I thought I would. I've definitely got more before in that time, but well, why is it? Wait, one of them is the wrong way around. So I finished 10 Things That Never Happened by Alexis Hall and The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and I also get 200 pages of The Crimson Petal and the White by Michelle Faber. I'm really excited to continue this one. For 10 Things That Never Happened, I think I will bump up the rating to maybe a 4-star. I will also think a little bit longer about that one. Maybe I'll write the review if I get around to it, but it might take a few days. I think in the end, now that I'm rethinking the story, I was mostly annoyed by the writing style. It just didn't catch with me. It kind of annoyed me the way that the character spoke, especially the point of view that we had with its weird accent, dialect, I think. Didn't click with me. The story itself was kind of sweet, and the story itself wasn't that bad. I did catch myself laughing several times. So it was quite humorous, it was quite entertaining. And considering the premise of one of them being the boss of the other, honestly, I don't think there could have been done much more to get off the power imbalances. And also, well, I don't want to spoil how it's resolved, but the power imbalances are definitely something that the characters are aware of. Honestly, I didn't really like, I already said this, but I didn't like the way that the author resolved the issue of amnesia. I felt that was just cut too short in the end. But apart from that, it was cool, still an enjoyable read. I might still give it to my sister, or at least lend it to my sister so she can read it, because I think she might really like it. But I think I might bump this up to a 4-star. And then again, looking forward to continuing this in the near future. Where am I actually? I'm not entirely halfway through. Do I have anything to say about this that I have not already told you? I'm very tired, guys. No, because everything I could tell you at this point would assumably spoil you. I think I have told you that William does actually strike a deal with the madam who is the owner of the brothel that Sugar works at. And apart from that, I think a lot of things that I could tell you would just spoil you. This is definitely extremely character-driven so far. I do quite like character-driven stories though, so it's not something that's bothering me. It's also times in second person, so the narrator addresses you personally, which I know some people don't like, and then also it obviously talks a lot about sex and prostitution and illnesses and, you know, those things. And the language itself can also be very, really rude. So you do have to be a person that can deal with those things in books, but I usually can. There isn't a lot that I can't deal with in books, especially historical fiction, where I quite enjoy historical fiction where they show you also the bad times, because a lot of historical fiction is about, you know, the leaders of the time, the decision makers, but this is actually just about normal people. and I quite enjoy that for a change. Anyway, that's the 3 books of the 24 hours that we now have spent together this way around. Thank you to everyone who has stuck with me through these 24 hours. And also thank you to everyone who has supported me in whatever way in the past year, whether it's by commenting or liking or just by watching my videos. It's very nice of you. And let's see where this journey takes us, I guess. And I'll see you very soon and hopefully with a little bit more sleep.